as a volunteer, if you want to be taken seriously, you have to add value to the organization that you're working with. So just that hustle, just that commitment to the cause.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again, and I hope you are enjoying our previous conversation. Uh, Today, I have she has volunteered with one of the orgs which I admire a lot, which is Pratham, and right now she is from Nudge Foundation. She is working in Nudge Foundation. Please help me invite our guest for today, Shakshi Jain. Hi, Shakshi.
Hi, Akshay.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you doing?
I am doing good. Thank you so much. So to start with, we would like to know your childhood journey.
Sure. So Akshay, I was born in Delhi, and I have family in both, Delhi and Mumbai. But I actually grew up in Dubai. My parents moved there when I was 4 years old, and I've done all my schooling there. I in fact studied at a CBSE school, so I'm very familiar with the Indian education system, having gone through it myself. And I gave, like everybody else listening to this, I gave the same board exams, 10th and 12th, that everybody else did. So in that sense, my connection to India, or my, in my childhood, was mostly in the summer holidays, where I would come and visit the rest of my family, spend time with cousins. Um, just that was my sort of connection to India. My childhood was a lot of fun. So schooling, ke alawa bhi, I mean, I used to do a lot of swimming. I represented my school in swimming competitions, art competitions, and just generally we were encouraged to do a lot of extracurriculars. So, while academics in the CBSE, in the Indian education system, there's a lot of emphasis on academics. It was also a lot of fun, just being in a multicultural environment, and just getting to meet people from all across India, but in one classroom in Dubai. So in that sense, it was a great experience.
Nice. And what about your college?
So my college I studied at the University of London. It was an international degree program, but I studied in Singapore at the Singapore Institute of Management. Again, very, very multicultural experience. Got to live in Southeast Asia. This was my first time living away from home. So being independent for the first time, having to learn to manage everything on my own, from my finances to just making friends in a new place, in a new country where English might be the first language, but a lot of people didn't speak, Hindi, for example.
Right.
I studied economics and finance, which, I mean, I'd always had an interest in economics, so I thought that was, the next sort of journey in my education that I wanted to take. Again, lots of fun, lots of emphasis on extracurricular activities. The college experience that I had was, again, a lot of focus on, uh, while academics was important, but a lot of focus on extracurricular. So joining the photography club, joining setting up the Indian society in the college, because there was no Indian society when we joined. So doing Diwali events, all those sort of things. Really, really good experience. In fact, at the end of the 3 years, I was awarded the All Rounder Student Award,
Wow.
which was a great sort of recognition of the fact that I had done all of this independently, and sort of built build that community within the college. So again, great experience, economics and finance. A year later, then I went for my master's. This was in King's College London. Studied international political economy there. I realized that I didn't want to be in finance at all after having studied it. And after having worked in it for about 9 months, I realized that this was not my cup of tea. I thought that, international relations was something that I would be more interested in. Started studying that, did that for a year. Again, being in London, super, super multicultural experience again. Got to meet so many people from all across the world. In a class of 120, we were 6 Indians. So we were, even if we wanted to, we didn't sort of end up as a group together. We would just end up hanging out with other people. Again, lots of extracurriculars. I was volunteering there. While I was studying, I started volunteering with Pratham, which is India's largest education NGO. Started volunteering there in their fundraising team, and that sort of then became a full-time role. And that's in fact actually how I ended up in the development sector. So it was not planned at all. It just sort of happened very organically from when I was studying to a full-time role.
So help me understand, Shakshi, that you started volunteering in London in
Yes, that's
Pratham. How did that happen?
I had heard about Pratham from I knew that Pratham existed and it was doing some phenomenal work in India. I
Hmm.
had been reading about them a little bit. And when I saw that they had a UK office, I just wrote them an email saying that, these are the skills that I come with. Happy to volunteer 1 or 2 days of my time because for the rest of the week I'm in classes, but happy to volunteer 1 or 2 days of my time with whatever you need. And they responded. So it just, again, it sort of just happened.
Nice.
Pratham was, in fact, the only organization that I had written to at the time. Even though there were other non-profits, India-based non-profits that do operate in the UK, Pratham was the only one I wrote to, and they responded, and it just sort of happened.
So why India based and why not London based or the UK based dogs?
I think that's something that I carry from my childhood that I want to do. I feel Indian. I mean, not feel Indian. I am Indian, but because I've been away from India for so long, I just sort of felt that if I'm going to be giving back, or if I'm going to, volunteer somewhere, I wanted to be in a place where that I'm familiar with,
Okay.
and where I have my roots. So that was the only reason why, an Indian nonprofit compared to any other nonprofit. I mean, I also feel that there's so much opportunity for development in India. I don't see, the work that we do as as helping people, but more as an opportunity to work with people to build our own, to build my own skills and to be able to apply those skills. Right. So for me, it was just that if I'm going to do it, I want to do it for an Indian organization.
Okay. Not for any other orgs.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were volunteering with Pratham at London office, right? And majorly for fundraising, right?
Yes.
And how easy or how difficult was that?
Um, I think so. There were already some systems in place, and there were some systems that I had to sort of put into place when it came to fundraising. So a lot of the fundraising, what we call diaspora fundraising, which is fundraising from, fundraising for India or for the Indian nonprofit, but outside of the country, from people who are connected to that country. In this case, Indians living in the UK or people of Indian origin living in the UK, who might have some, connection, some emotional connect to the cause or to the country. Working with the diaspora, our focus was mostly on what we call individual fundraising. So running campaigns, to raise awareness about the organization, to raise awareness about the state of education in India, and to work with high net worth individuals to engage them in sort of large events. Like every year we had an annual fundraising gala, so we used to involve HNIs in that event. Again, to raise awareness of the cause and to just bring people together. Um, and raise funds. So that's essentially what my role was to run sort of both of these sort of campaigns and the event itself. Um, Fairly, I would say it was because a lot of systems were already in place. It was fairly easy. But I can imagine that when we would have first started doing this, it would have been quite difficult to rally people and to sort of get them to understand these are the problems that kids in India are facing today. How can we, sitting so far away, one whole continent away, how can we help them? So just getting people involved, engaged, that I think was something that we focused a lot on our energy on.
And what was your I would say most memorable gala or event which you are very proud of? What was that moment?
So I think the moment that I was very proud of, in fact, it's not even my moment. It was at the gala in 2017, I think. So we'd organized the event and 2016, sorry. Yeah, we'd organized the event and we had Sukhbir Singh, who's a singer. He sings in Bollywood as well. He was at the event and he was phenomenal. Like he was performing at the event and he was amazing. And because I was behind the scenes the entire time, I didn't get a chance to hear him sing. But after the event, I got to go up to him and thank him for his contribution, for contributing his time and energy to us. Got to meet him in person and to see how humble he was. To see that the fact that we are doing this for a purpose, and that brings people together. That he would also do this for us, and a lot of other celebrities also do this, right? They do come and attend
Correct.
such events because it raises awareness. They can use their platforms that they have to raise awareness about these causes. So the fact that he was doing this as well, I think that was very special for me. To know that it's possible to rally people, just by the power of the cause.
Correct. Brought a very interesting point about celebrities part of any such events, and today's world of social media is full of influencers, right? And how should one connect with them, right? And how can they support us? In what way they support us?
Sure. So connecting with them is, we need to connect with them on a very human level, right? Not just to the fact that they're an influencer and that they can make a difference, but the fact that they're human beings first. They are, and they're intelligent human beings, because being a social media influencer is not easy in this day and age. They understand social media. They understand the power of communication. So to sort of touching their human side and relating to that, um, and doing it in a very organic way. So if somebody genuinely cares about education, for example, or genuinely cares about healthcare, then the story just becomes more authentic, or the connection just becomes a lot more authentic. So appealing to that side of them, I think that really helps. Um, even on the way that that they can sort of support nonprofits, the same thing, right? If they should be supporting nonprofits if they feel that this is something that they actually care about. Education, for example, I'll stick to that because that's where most celebrities sort of also do talk about. And then during COVID, a lot of celebrities have been running their own fundraisers
Correct.
for nonprofits, for especially for healthcare and for COVID relief. They've been doing events as well, and the way that some of them have really talked about why this is so important to them, I think that is what we need to see more of. So that authenticity coming forward, that power of again bringing people together or being able to communicate a message in a way that people connect with it. That is what is important, and that's what they can bring to the table. They
Correct.
can use their platforms, not just to when you're an influencer, to influence people for good.
Nice. uh and uh, and while all these things are happening in your life, about you volunteering with Pratham as well as working in London, uh, what were your parents' reaction about you volunteering in a development sector, and what was their emotion like?
So for the first couple of months, I think they didn't take the fact very seriously that I was volunteering, or that I was planning on doing this full time. I think that they saw it as a sort of phase in my life, that okay, maybe this is something that you want to try out, you want to explore it. But at the end of the day, once you have your degree, you will go and you will work in a bank, or you'll do something else. That was also kind of the expectation from them. And I was in a place where I didn't know for myself whether this was a life path that I wanted to choose, or whether this was a phase for me as well. I didn't know that either way. So I spent some time thinking about this. And when I told my parents that no, this is something I want to do full time, I want to be in the sector at least for the next 5 to 10 years. There's so much to do in India, and I want to be in India. I don't want to just sit in London and do fundraising. So after 2.5 years, I moved back. I moved back home, and then I moved to India with the nudge. That was a very conscious decision for me. For my parents, I had to sort of explain to them, this is why, this is I want to be doing this, and it's not something that I'm doing because I think this is cool and I want to walk around with a jhola or something. This is something I actually believe in. It's a problem that needs to be solved, and I feel like my skills are best used to solve this problem rather than sitting in some other office and doing something else. So it took some convincing. Now that they see that I'm actually serious about this, and they see that there are viable career options. So now that they see that they see that I am growing in the sector as well, or I'm growing in my job as well. They see that the people around me respect me. They take me seriously as well. I think all of that has sort of helped to for them to accept this, that this is what I do and this is what I want to do.
And are they happy with what you're doing right now?
Yes, now I think they are happy. I think once I moved to Bangalore, which is where I'm based right now, they understood that yes, I'm very serious about this, and once that acceptance came, then obviously they're happy about it and they're proud of me.
Okay. So staying in Dubai, Singapore, London, more than Dubai, if I'm not wrong, staying in Singapore and London all alone, and staying in India all alone, I think there's a stark difference in it, right? Right. And then what are the struggles you face while staying alone?
Sure. So I don't think I felt any sort of changes in the status quo while moving to India, especially Bangalore, where I don't have any families. I have a
Correct.
lot of family. I have a lot of friends here, but no family. So for me, it was like moving to any other city.
Hmm.
I live, in a flat with a flatmate. I take care of my own expenses, everything. So it's pretty much like me having moved to any other city. But of course, India being India, India is special, right? The people of India are very different from people you'd find anywhere else. And it's actually been really nice because the pace of life in Bangalore is very chilled out. It's very, I don't want to use the word slow, but much nicer and calmer compared to cities like Singapore or London. So
Oh,
I think it made me a calmer person as well,
okay.
just being here. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of people to meet. Extremely dynamic. So I've loved all of this about India and about being in Bangalore. And because I was in an Indian school, so I was used to sort of
Correct.
how other kids in India are. I basically grew up like that. And every summer I would visit family. So again, I
Hmm.
was quite used to being in India. So it wasn't actually that challenging for me. But I can imagine that for anybody else, it would be extremely challenging, and it does take time to get used to any new city. It does take time to sort of get your bearings and start something new, especially when you're starting a new job. I remember house hunting in India for me, or house hunting in Bangalore specifically. For me, was a huge challenge. That was, I think, the only culture shock that I had,
Okay.
uh, where sorry, not land, house owners did not want to rent out flats to young women who are single.
Hmm.
Um, I don't understand the reasoning for that, but for whatever reason, they believe that they don't want to rent out their flats to young single women. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was like, okay, like what do you want me to do? Like I can't change who I am just to get live in a flat here.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think that was the only sort of culture shock for me. Otherwise, everything else has actually been quite smooth sailing.
Now with your experience in development sector for 5.5 years and 5+ years now, what do you think the significant of a female in development sector brings, right? Because I personally feel more than men, female do have a very strong EQ, right? Emotional quotient, and in development sector we do need that at a very highest level, right? So how do you what do you think about that emotional quotient female bringing into the page, and what difference that make?
So I would actually disagree with you there, Akshay. I
Okay.
think men have EQ. They just choose not to sort of tap into it
Hmm.
because they've been conditioned to not tap into it.
Yeah.
I think men are as emotional as women, just that they don't show it, or just that they don't access those feelings. But yes, being a woman in the development sector, I think it has warped my view a little bit of men as well, because the men that I interact with generally are extremely empathetic, generally are extremely have high EQ. So I think it has warped my view of men as well. But being a woman in the development sector, to be honest, I don't know any different, right? Because I haven't actually worked in the corporate sector at all. So I don't think I'm the right person to sort of comment on what it means to be a woman in the development sector, because that's the only thing I know. I don't know anything else.
Correct, correct. So, how did Nudge Foundation happen to you, Sakshi?
When I went back to Dubai, which is where my parents are, went back home for a while after my stint at Pratham. I decided that I wanted to be in India and work in India, because that's not something that I had done before.
Hmm.
Like I mentioned, all my work experience before that was with Pratham in the UK. And very consciously, I was applying to roles in India, across the country, regardless of where they were based. Um, that was my one point agenda, that I wanted to work with a non-profit that is doing good work. They have a decent track record. They are solving something that's big, that's ambitious. The people that are working there, really care about this issue. I wanted to sort of tick all those boxes. Um, and Nudge then sort of just happened to be one of those organizations that I felt that is doing something in a very ambitious way, doing it in a very rational way. We look at poverty alleviation, from multiple different lenses,
Correct.
um, and that's something that really spoke to me. So I decided that Nudge was one of those organizations that I wanted to work with. Applied there, got in. Um, yeah, that's how the journey started.
And and your parents were totally fine you shifting to India.
They were very apprehensive about it. They tried a lot, to convince me to stay at home and to work with a non-profit at home. But
Hmm.
I think the non-profit sector in India is much more vibrant, much more dynamic. There's a lot more happening, a lot of opportunities for growth in India compared to the UAE. So or to the Middle East in general. So I decided that India was the place for me to be.
Nice. What would Sakshi advise to people who would like to be part of development sector?
I would say start by volunteering, if that's a great way to start engaging with the sector, to see and to actually see in action the fact that your skills are very relevant to the sector. There are organizations that are working on the intersection of all sorts of things that you care about, is what I would say to people. So if you're interested in technology and education, if there are so many organizations working in edtech. If you're interested in health and women's rights, there are organizations that are working across that intersection. There's so much to do. There's so much opportunity. I would highly recommend, for young people to at least volunteer one day or half a day of their time, to engage with people who are working in the sector. Ask them questions. We're very accessible. We're very easy to catch hold of. So please ask us a lot of questions. Those are the two main ways, I think, people who are not in, young people especially, who are not in the sector, for them to just have a flavor of how it is to work in the sector, whether it's viable for them. Ask all of these things very openly.
And what does volunteering teach you, which no B schools or colleges teaches you?
I would say hustle, number one. That's something that's very important, right? Because as a volunteer, if you want to be taken seriously, you have to add value to the organization that you're working with. So just that hustle, just that commitment to the cause, being open to taking up challenges and to running with them, um, working with a team that that's working full time on a problem, and you know that you might not be able to spend all your time, but to do that in a very focused way, to spending the time in a very focused way, and to give it your all to use your skills. I think that's something that, yeah, very important in volunteering. And it's a great experience. You get to interact with people, you get to see what's happening on the ground very closely, in most cases, at least. You get to actually see what's happening on the ground. Most organizations welcome the help and the support that volunteers bring. So would highly recommend that.
Say it. What's Sakshi's purpose of life?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. But
Okay.
I know that the purpose of my life is to live a life of purpose, essentially. Right now, that purpose is very aligned with what where I'm working, which is poverty alleviation, which is what the nudge does. So right now, it is livelihoods, because I feel that I believe that uh, for somebody to have a sustainable livelihood, they are not only changing their own life, they're ending the cycle of poverty for
Hmm.
generations to come. And that's very important in sustainability of the outcomes that you're trying to achieve. So for me, that's the purpose that I'm aligned with right now. That might change. I'm also very, very passionate about women's rights, and I'm a very, very strong feminist, so very aligned there. And yeah, like those are the sort of two things that give me purpose every day.
Nice.
Yeah.
What can you share about Nudge Foundation much more?
Sure. So the nudge was established in 2015 with the sole purpose of poverty alleviation sustainably and scalably. In the last 6 years that we have been around, we've been working on tackling multidimensional poverty through three different what we call impact streams. So the first one is the Center for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, where we work with youth aged 18 to 29. We provide them with English and 21st century skills for them to be able to be employable in the uh, in the formal workforce. So while youth, may have studied till the 12th grade or might have a graduate degree, a lot of times they are not ready for the workforce. They might not have, done an internship or something like that,
Mhm.
and they might not be confident in speaking English. We've also found that youth aspire to speak in English and they aspire to be in the formal workforce, whether it's at a call center or in the service sector, in a BPO or something like that. So we work with these youth. We train them online. It's a 3 month, 2 month training program. Once we train them, we also place them into jobs. So
Correct.
any youth who wants a job at the end of the program, we make sure that they get placed into a job, and then we track their retention and we provide them with any other service or any other help that they need or any counseling that they need for them to stay in that job. Because
Hmm.
the idea is not just that somebody gets a job, but that they stay in it and they are able to grow in it. So that's what we do at the Center for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. At the Center for Social Innovation, which was originally called ENCO,
Hmm.
which was launched in 2017, we've been working with non-profits, so early stage non-profit startups, working with them to incubate and accelerate them. So providing them with seed capital. This could be anywhere between 15 lakh to 1.5 crores. Providing them with seed capital and providing them with networks, with mentorship. In the case of the accelerator, there's personalized mentorship that's provided to these organizations for them to grow and for them to sustain themselves. We also run something called the prize, the Nudge Prize, where the first one was launched in November 2020 with Cisco, called the Cisco Agri Challenge, where the idea is to nudge talent into the sector and nudge them into solving large scale problems.
Hmm.
So we set a challenge. In the case of the Cisco Agri Challenge, challenge was to improve the income of farmers by at least 50% and to reach at least 50 million farmers. Sorry, 10 million farmers. So sorry. But but the idea is to be able to solve that problem at scale. So over a course of 18 months, we've had around 25 organizations working on
Nice.
solving this challenge. We've been providing them again with access to networks, access to mentorships, workshops, to help them create a prototype and to sort of take that prototype to market.
Hmm.
That's kind of the idea. In October 2020, I think we launched the Indian Administrative Fellowship. This was to nudge older or senior talent, not older, senior talent to join the sector. So people with CXO level talent, people with around 15 to 20 years of experience, for them to work with state government officials, state secretaries or higher, for them to work with senior bureaucrats and solve problems along with the government. So
Correct.
again, around an 18-month fellowship for them to work with the government on specific problems across rural development, agriculture, women and child department. So we've been working with the government of Karnataka since January on this.
Hmm.
We've partnered with them, and the first cohort started in around April 2021. The last impact stream is the Center for Rural Development, where we work on sustainable rural livelihoods in Jharkhand and UP. We're working with around 1,200 women in Jharkhand who come from particularly vulnerable tribal groups, working with them on a 3-year program, very, very deep intervention for them to graduate them out of ultra poverty. In UP, our work is in sustainable rural livelihoods through the interventions of goatry and poultry. Women farmers again who have some little bit of extra land, we work with them on choosing goatry or poultry as a livelihood option to add extra income.
Hmm. Hmm. That's very diverse, and I would say many work is happening at systemic level, at grassroots level, and also you were saying that there are many career options at Nudge. Would you like to share that as well in detail?
Yes. So the Nudge is actively hiring across roles in product, which is how product design, product management, program management, across our central functions as well. So all the 3 impact streams are currently hiring, whether you're interested in skilling, social innovation, or rural development. There's a role for you. So people who come with more generalist skills and who want to sort of contribute in whether it's fundraising, people and culture, tech, impact, marketing, finance. There are roles open across all levels of experience. So I'm happy to talk about any of the roles in more details. Everything is listed on our careers page, careers.nudge.org. But happy to talk about anything in more detail.
Thanks, Sakshi, for sharing it. And if individual would like to join Nudge apart from employee, what are the other opportunities?
I think employment right now is the only opportunity. We do have some very select internships and volunteer opportunities, but we ideally have people joining us full time. I think that's one of the ways that we prefer people to spend time with the Nudge.
Nice.
The other thing that you can do to not just to learn more about the Nudge, but every year we organize the annual Charcha. Charcha 2021 happened in August this year, 13th to 15th August. So that's a great resource again for young people or for anybody who wants to learn about the sector, to just dip their feet in. It's available on YouTube as well. All the sessions, so for them to sort of go through the Charcha page and see what does it mean to be in education, in the development sector in education. What are the challenges? Who are the people who are making things? Who are working on the ground? All of those things are available on our website as well.
Nice, wonderful. So this brings to last segment of our conversation, Sakshi. This is something which I am very fascinated about, and this one quote I always stay with me is "What if?" And what is that one what if moment in your life?
So I think my what if would be, what if I had not happened to join the sector? What if I had not written that one email to the Pratham office, and not started volunteering or not started engaging with the sector? And that, I mean, I have thought about that, in fact, quite a lot, that because it happened so organically, right? It's not something that was very planned. It was just that I had some free time on my hands and I wanted to do something with it. So what if that had not happened? I think I probably would be in the corporate sector, probably would be not super happy. Maybe I would have found purpose there as well. I don't know. But I think in some way or another, I think I would have found my way back to the development sector. Somehow or the other. Maybe I would have volunteered later on in life, or maybe I would have joined the CSR wing of a corporate. I don't know. I don't know if I would even be in the country that I'm working in, if I would have met the people that I've met, and the people that I love working with. So yeah, I think that's my big what if. So take that chance, write that email, reach out to the person who you don't know if they'll respond to you. You never know what will happen. Some cold emails, really can change your life.
Okay, this brings to end of our conversation, Sakshi. Thank you so much for being part. And
Thank you so much, Akshay, for inviting me to be a part of this. I think it's a great platform, and wish you all the best for your future
sure.
guests. Yeah.